Hey everybody, welcome to the See Joy and Expand podcast. I'm Christian Joy, your host. I'm a quantum hypnotist and a life coach, and I wanted to hop on here before this episode begins. This is part two of the chat that I have with Renee and Christine, and I was going to say interview, but honestly, these are just everyday like real ass conversations that I have with people. They're very in line with the way I talk to people behind the scenes in my everyday life and the people that I connect with. So, and this podcast is about being honest and real, and sometimes get deep, sometimes we get silly, and that's just the way I like it. Um, I do want to say that I started using my podcast mic again for the first time, and like the audio sounds a little rough on the edges on some parts, so just forgive the audio. It's been a while since I used it, and now that I heard both of these episodes, I'm getting a little bit better. It's like a skill. It's a skill to record a podcast. Like there's a skill in how to use the mic. And now I'm gonna, after this these two episodes and the next two episodes coming up, I'll be able to tweak the settings on the mic, and hopefully your listening experience will sound so much better. But just keep in mind that the audio isn't, there's like some like loud parts, so just FYI. Behind the scenes, what it's like starting a new thing, and also the human design part aspect of this podcast. If you guys have been inspired to look up your human design, because I keep seeding it into my conversations because I'm studying it again. Um, if you have a three profile in human design, it's all about trial and error. This is how this profile learns, this person learns. Um, and it's about learning from real life experience. So, my podcast, I looked up the human design of my podcast and it has a three profile number two. So, when I found out the human design of my podcast, I was like, wow, that is so in line with the experience I've had with this podcast, that everything has been trial and error with it. So I love being like real and honest and raw about like what does it really look like creating your own things. So, and it feels really good. Like I remember like in my own experience when I like take in media and watch things, I realize how different it feels to see the pristine version, like say you're watching movies and TV series or really like high-end podcasts, what have you, versus the real life, down and dirty, like raw experience, unedited versions of things. And it just hits different and it feels good in my bones and every fiber of my being to show up this way. So, and yes, this is my bedroom, by the way, if you didn't notice. Um, so I was like, um, I do a lot of work out of my bedroom, or our bedroom. It's not my bedroom, it's me and my partner's bedroom. So, and I've been doing work out of my bedroom for like years. I've been doing work out of here for years. So that's another tidbit too. Like, not everybody has a studio, but people do, like, who work at home and do online work, do it out of their bedrooms. So, anywho, I went on a little mini ramble. If I'm gonna invite you guys, if you feel called to, if anything about any of the content I put out there on podcasts, please leave me a comment, reach out. I'm on Substack, YouTube now, and Spotify, and all the other podcast platforms where you can find me on podcasts. And leave me a rating, review, 5-star review if you feel called to, and something about these episodes helped you, lit you up, shifted something inside of you, inspired you, what have you, and it will help me reach more people. And I deeply appreciate it if you taking the time to say something, share something beautiful that's been on your mind. So, anywho, also, chat and is a good place to reach me on Substack too. Also, I'm still doing TikTok lives with John on human design. If you all want to ask questions, any questions, we're gonna pick a topic and we're gonna just talk about that. And if anybody joins in, we'll answer your questions on live on TikTok. And that's all I got going on right now. I got these 2 episodes that are coming out this week, and then I have Stormy Sage's interview. Also, this is a podcast week. The content this week is all podcasts, so podcast episodes. So the next 2 episodes are going to be Stormy Sage's interview. I also want to say that that's been the journey of my podcast. Like, I'm not a structured podcast, and you'll see it in this episode actually. Renee and I talk about the different ways people do things. And we even talk about like the human design aspect of that. So wait, let me check. I'm gonna look at my notes real quick, make sure this is like the same episode because I just recorded like 5 different pieces of content this past week and notes are really helpful. Let's see. Okay, it was the last episode. Last episode, the first part one. If you haven't listened to part one, we talk about how ebb and flow versus structure shows up in different people via the framework of human design, which is very supportive of how you show up. Ah, I just love human design. I'm obsessed right now. So, anywho, enjoy this episode. Thank you, and see you on the next one.
Do you want to hear a wild
Yeah.
synchronicity?
Yes.
Do it.
You know the
I
song
love
Age
it.
of Aquarius?
Yeah.
My mom worked for the guy whose father wrote the music for Hair, who wrote,
Stop.
who helped write that song.
What?
So, I've met him, I've like seen the show live in person or whatever, but like that whole soundtrack is like played constantly. But like that's the thread that like pulls this all together.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when you say like the time that was written, it was basically like a hippie putting together a play about hair, and like my mom's friend's dad came in and was like, okay, we need to put some structure around this to make it a song. And I feel like, yeah,
it was about hair.
It was about, well, I mean, there was more
the
to
musical
it, but
is hair.
the musical is hair. Is called Hair. Oh, do you know the musical? Am I just like
No, I
speaking
don't. I'm not familiar
Oh my
with that
God.
one.
Okay, so there was a musical written, I think it was in the 60s, called Hair, and I like highly, I think it's like you can watch it, like they made a TV version and you can watch it, but it was about like the times, like the 60s, very Jim Jones, who came up in my quantum hypnosis, but it was about the hippies and what they were going through and the war in Vietnam and getting drafted and like, the highs and the lows, but it was basically around this song of hair, all about different types of hair. But I think it speaks more to like what is going on at that time, but the music from that musical is fantastic. Anyway, highly recommend to everyone to like listen and watch, because there's so much that we can all learn from it as a society, I think, still. So anyway, that's all.
Thanks for that tidbit. I'm gonna like write that down because if I don't write
no
it down,
problem.
it's gonna disappear. I love like Broadway musicals. They're like my favorites.
It's so good. I mean, it's emotional. I don't know how you feel about emotional things, but it's so good.
I need to feel more, so
Oh,
that'll be my medicine with my Capricorn moon and my
girl.
Asian background.
I have a Capricorn moon too, so I get it. The vulnerability is not easy for us.
Yeah. But that being said, I feel like it's not easy, but it can be definitely learned. And this is me as my embodiment life coach part of me. It's really funny because you interviewed me and we asked me about life coaching, and I was like, man, I really wasn't ready for this, but it was like practice for what was wanting to come through. And now that I opened up spots for coaching again, starting like a couple weeks ago, I'm like remembering like, oh yeah, this is the stuff, this is the work I do. This is I bring it back to the now, I bring it back to the body. What did we learn?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm starting to understand because like I went hard in quantum hypnosis. Now I'm like my energy's being drawn back to life coaching because a lot of what we want to manifest in our minds, our dreams, our aspirations, the future vision for our future, it happens right now in this moment. So what do we do now? How do we honor the resources that we have now in this moment?
Mm.
That's what, and that it reminds me of your quantum hypnosis was so like really amazing when it comes to the mother nature aspect of it. And I love how we went into like hippies and stuff like that, and she had like a hippie lifetime also. And it I'm losing my train of thought, you guys.
I was
I'm
going to
there.
ask, so I guess, do we want to do more of a conversation deep dive on our reflections for that? So I know I did mine a while ago. Christine did her quantum hypnosis session more recently,
Mm-hmm.
but I have my notes on it because I looked back because I was like, what did we talk about in mine? Because it was like so
I
many months
remember
ago.
I remember what I was trying to say, I
Okay.
think. Coming back to me.
It's all
This is how
coming
my
back.
brain works, you guys, in real time. And I'm totally about like representation because I had, no, really, like, I'm like, I had a lot of wounds around needing to show up perfectly and talk perfectly. And I did have a past life, like through the Akashic records, where I was a mute nun. Like I took a vow of
Oh my god.
silence, and I went mute when my vow of silence was over. And then I couldn't speak after that. And I was like, that resonates a lot because when I was a kid, I
Mm.
didn't feel safe to like talk. Like
Mm.
my parents' generation, it was like every time I said anything, I got yelled at. Like, why are you talking? Blah blah blah. Like,
Mm.
so when I see people, and I over the years I chose to follow people that embodied a way of being that I wanted to step into.
Mm-hmm.
And that was being more authentic and like this is how I talk, this is how I carry myself, my tonality, the cadence of my voice, this is how loud I speak, this is how like low like my voice is softer, whatever. Like I think it's okay to show up and however, and my wound comes through, it comes through my expression, my
Mm-hmm.
voice expression, I guess. I don't have a different way to say that. But you guys get the point of what I'm trying to say. But what was back to why life coaching is coming up for me again is like I'm understanding, like it just dropped in like when I was writing a piece for Substack, and I was just like, oh my god, I get it now. Like I didn't understand what was the point of all this quantum hypnosis work. Like I
Mm-hmm.
feel like a lot of people like I like why would I spend this much money? Like this is like the conditioning, my limiting thoughts that were going through my head about it. Like why would somebody spend this much money? Like what is the utility in it? How is it
Mm.
useful? And now I'm really understanding as I come back more home into myself and like journey through what wants to be expressed through me through my work is how can I, and this is like very Aquarius, how can I be my multidimensional expression in my conscious world? And I have lifetimes where I was a witch, and I had the wounds from like being a mute nun. I was a slave in Egypt, and it speaks to my wounds around money and my scarcity. I had a nomadic lifetime as a young child who was separated from their family, and I have this weird relationship with food. It like spoke to that, like, and I was like all these stories, and whether, and I love both of your guys' hypnosis because it paints a picture of the different ways people, like the different ways the story wants to unfold through your higher self. Is that one aspect will show you revisit lifetimes, and it could be true for you or not, whether if it's metaphorical or not, or a really lived experience. it's only up to you to like what resonates for the person who's having the experience. And and then the other side is like, okay, so that like this is real or is it a metaphor? Is what I'm trying to say. So, and I've had the metaphorical journey as well. So Renee had a metaphorical, it seemed. Her higher self was showing her lots of imagery through her clear senses and what her answers are. And like just seeing it, like it's kind of cool how like it's like really powerful how the nervous system is fashioned, because you don't even need to be in a quantum hypnosis state, but you are very suggestible in this deeper brainwave state for creating change for your conscious reality. That let me take a step back and give an example. Like people in the Olympics, they do a lot of visualization work and they imagine or visualize the perfect stroke, like if they're swimmers, and swimming perfectly, and then they're able to do that because they taught their nervous system that they can do that. They prime their nervous system for that reality. And that's what I love about quantum hypnosis, is that you're priming your nervous system for whatever your higher self and your authentic expression is supposed to be, rather than what society was trying to tell you. And remember, I was like, in our interview, I was like, what if what we want is not what we want?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love about quantum hypnosis, like diving deeper within you and like connecting with your soul selves, higher selves, and finding what it is that you do want. And then feeling, and I like saying home in your body, but people don't understand what that means until they feel it.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess if I had to put it in words, when you have a deep resonance and they're like, oh, that like makes so much sense, or like I feel validated in my expression or experience, then you just get a lot more of that and become, it like fills your experience like from head to toe. And that's like what I've been on lately for my work. So like I called my coaching program that I released Becoming Your Technicolor Human, because like the world has been like lived in black and white. Like who are you in all your colors? So and now I want to talk about your guys' sessions. So Renee, do you want to start?
Yeah, so my general experience was we were doing the induction process, and somewhere in there, your girl blacked out. I was somewhere else. And then all of a sudden, it was like I was hearing Christian like starting to ask me a question, and I was like trying to keep my eyes closed. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what she just said. I wasn't listening. I don't know where I just was. And so then I was like trying to like relax, because I'm like, I'm going to shoot myself out of the state, because I went so deep in the meditation for the induction that I was just gone. So then I was like, okay, I have to climb back in, not disrupt, get out of the theta waves and everything. So ultimately what we talked about through the visualization process, and then before we got to the higher self bit, the topics of which was pre-planned, of wellness. So Christine is familiar with this as well. My challenging relationship with my sleep schedule and balancing, want to go all in, want to do it's like the nanny gen, but like too much. You're doing all the things, and then you're like, now I am tired, but I have more things to do and I don't have enough time. So it's balancing the wellness piece as well as relationships, and then spiritual connectivity. So like, how can I tap into my intuition more? So what I kept seeing was all these different scenes. So I wasn't in them. They were scenes that were playing out in front of me. So my memory was that there was a little boy, and then there was a kind of whimsical teacher, and she was guiding him through a series of different scenes. And so then I was basically following them and trying to interpret, well, what's the significance of them being in this scene and what they're doing. And then I was translating that for Christian, because we were going back and forth. And the understanding was that in each of them, there were lessons about the wellness pieces. And then it circled back to the end. It's like the kid was being put to bed, and then the teacher looked at me. So it's then me, the person who's just kind of floating in the abyss, watching all of this. It was like, okay, your turn. And then it was like we were having some sort of an interaction, and then I was not understanding it properly. So then they're like, okay, just kidding. We'll say it like this instead. So they pivoted to communicate to me in a different way. And then there was another part, like after that, when we switched, and maybe this was part of it, is there was something with trees. Like I remember the relationship that we were looking into, like having a good fit for a relationship. It was all these metaphors of like somebody observing a tree and like they're watching someone else climb up the tree. And it's like, oh, well, I could climb up the tree that way. And it's like, no, you're a different person. And, you know, trees being of different heights. And it was like it was metaphor after metaphor after metaphor. So I was having to decode it like I might for a psychic reading that I'm providing for somebody else. And that's what I mentioned on our conversation, on our podcast, where I was like, there were some points where Christian was not following specifically what was going on. And so then I was having to translate it to her so she understood. Because like, I know what it means because I'm receiving the message because I'm, if you will, reading myself. So I was getting it. And I was like, okay, so this is this. Okay, that means that. And I was like, oh, she wants me to tell her what that means. So then I would have to explain it. The high level is that they were telling me to avoid the overwhelm by playing, we all know this, North Node in my 5th house, Jupiter in my 5th house, to play and to recalibrate my mind, body, and spirit through more of an energetic path. And something that I started immediately doing after this quantum hypnosis session was when I meditate, what I used to do was I would have my pen and paper because I was like, oh, I have to make sure I capture it. I have to capture it. And then what I was being told in the session was just trust that if it's important enough, you'll remember it and you can write it down after. So I stopped doing that practice to make sure I could really go deep enough and go all in.
I have a question, because when you were talking about that, you were following this woman who was guiding a child, and then when she looked at you, I was like, do you feel like she was a metaphor, or do you think she might have been a guide? I'm like so curious. And then there's another piece I want to say too is I love, like, quantum hypnosis to me is that you're channeling yourself. So you're entering a state where you're allowing yourself to channel for yourself, if that is a word that resonates with you. But basically you're like connecting with the psychic part of you, and it's nice to engage in this experience so that maybe you'll know what it feels like after quantum hypnosis, especially if you're really interested into getting into psychic work. It's been really fun, like, doing hypnosis sessions for psychics for you guys. Just to know, like, how do I, like, you guys go there really easily. Like, how do I, like, dance and flow with, like, what you're experiencing. But I love that you, like, the whole time I was experiencing your session I was like, oh, I feel like I'm getting her psychic reading of herself.
Well, that's how it felt. I just was more relaxed. And then I was losing touch with time because then all of a sudden it was over. And I was like, what? It's been 3 hours?
Yes. Yeah. That's another thing that's the quantum aspect of it, is that time doesn't exist in this space. And through this work, I have detached a lot from time. Like, I don't have time pressure as much. So it's been really, like, a nice experience to know, like, did I waste my day? Like, blah, blah, like, all those things, all those, like, limiting beliefs in regards to time. Time that, I don't know if this resonates with you. Do you believe it exists? Is time real?
It's a concept. Like we made up time. Because if we can
Yeah.
change a calendar and just say, okay, well, we're going to follow this now, then it shows we are making it up.
Yeah, I think time is it's like defined in this reality is just a way to try and make sense of things. I think time exists, but I think time is more of like a fabric than it is a linear thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably just like messed with a lot of people's heads saying that. But I don't think time exists.
Well, because it's like what you're getting at, I think, is we can all feel time differently. Like, how often do people talk about, oh, when you were a kid, something felt like it took forever. And then the older you get, the faster time feels. And it's because the amount of life that you lived up until 5 years old, 1 minute feels longer because it's a larger percentage of your life versus when you're 80. So there's all of these layers to it. Or if you're in a flow state, you lose sense of time and you're going in and out of it. So then what is an hour on a certain task or activity one day versus another?
Or even now, like time in 2020 and 2021 felt a lot slower than it does in 2025.
Yeah.
I think everyone can attest to that.
Mm-hmm.
I love this as time being, if we were going to define it in the way we experience now, because before 2020, we were on the calendar, we were on the clock, we all knew that 9 to 5 schedule. And now time is more of a felt experience. And it's really interesting how time speeds up in different emotional states. So, like if you're really anxious or fearful, or if you are being present, then time moves a little bit more slowly. Or if you're having fun, it goes faster. So that's real time to me. Like, that's how I experience it now. Like, I can make it slow down or speed up if I wanted to. I have a really fun story about that if you guys want to hear it.
Yeah.
So, I went, so remember March was really crazy, and I went to a retreat on Arizona. I didn't know it was a retreat. I thought it was a girls' trip. And then the person who was heading the retreat was like, okay, now what are we planning on? What are we facilitating? And I was like, oh, we're facilitating things. Okay. I didn't know, but okay, so let's do this. And it was really fun, like having an in-person experience with the other folks that were there. But fast forward when we were heading home and we were like on the clock on how much time we had left. And one of the girls there, she's like, I'm going to have her on the pod soon, but she's like, she's been in the psychic intuitive space for like over 15 years. Very like super gifted. She like, I was like, the things she was saying to me was crazy. But we forgot to do a lot of things before we left the Airbnb, like throw away the trash that you're supposed to throw away, return the car at a certain time. And then we were like on the heading back, and like it was like they were gonna miss their flight. And we were like, it's okay, we're gonna expand time. And I was like, okay, I want to see this happen. We were able to throw away the garbage, return the car, take the shuttle back to the airport, and make it to their gate. And we ended up sitting there for 30 more minutes because the plane was late. And I was like, what the heck is happening? But not feeding into the feeling like
just trust. It's just like trust
yeah,
that like this is gonna work out. And then it's like going into that flow state energy and then doing a short-term manifestation almost.
it was like trust. With when you have trust, there's more time. It's so cool. That was real-time magic. I was like, this is the funnest experience I've ever witnessed. I got to be
You're
part of.
reminding me of a friend that I have who I don't know how she does it. She is always running late. Like she'll be like, "Oh, I'll be there in 5 minutes," but like she just got out of the shower. And with travel, this stresses me out. I get to the airport 3 hours early
In
just
New
so I can
York?
relax. Oh yeah, in New York, LaGuardia Airport. And I don't know how she does it. Maybe she manifests it. But she will get to security as the plane is boarding and somehow make the plane every single time. And it's to the point where people who don't know her, like I had a friend who was hanging out with us while we were supposed to catch a movie, and we were still in her apartment and the movie was starting in 5 minutes. And I was like, don't worry, we'll be on time. We were on time somehow. It was a 10-minute walk to the movie theater. We were somehow on time. I don't know how she does it. She has a true skill, and I never worry about her. People get so stressed out. I'm like, no, it doesn't work for me, but she will make it. Fear not. So she
I do
expands
the
time.
same thing. I do the same thing with, I love the bending time thing. I do the same thing with parking spots. I have parking powers. Except for like really, really crazy busy events. Otherwise, I'm only manifesting a parking spot that's pretty close, which is so weird.
We should
I
take a
didn't
class
know
on that.
a
Oh,
class
yeah.
on
Yeah.
what
Manifest
was
your
that?
parking spot, how to expand time. I feel like that's a class people need. I don't know.
Do you know how to teach it? I'm
No,
down
but
to
I feel like
teach
it's
it.
similar to manifest. Like, I mean, before like I go somewhere, I'll imagine how I want it to go,
Mm-hmm.
and then it'll go. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, if
Yeah,
if we
yeah.
could like package that into a class, I feel like how many people would that help?
Oh, a lot of people.
Right?
Like,
Like, cool. You could tell the future, but like, can you guarantee me a parking spot? Sure. Here's how.
I mean, it's like how many people like always like don't like they either don't want to go to the grocery store because of or like wherever. I'm in LA. They don't want to go out to LA because of the parking. And I'm always like, let's just go. Let's see what
No.
happens. Not
I will
giving into
I
the thoughts of it.
I hate driving. So I live in New York City, right? Parking
Yeah.
is terrible.
Mm.
I don't drive for that reason. If I have to go somewhere and like park, I don't go. Or somebody else has to drive. Like I cannot handle the parking anxiety.
I have that too, where if someone is inviting me somewhere or we're picking a place, I'm like, so what's the parking situation?
Mhm.
Because if it's no good, let's go somewhere else.
Mhm.
Because it makes me so anxious. Because already it's like you're going somewhere new, you don't want to be late, and then the worst case scenario is you pull up and you're like, I don't know where to park, and I'm driving around, and now I have to go in this garage and pay $40, and I wasn't planning on doing that. So it's like I just want to know there's parking, and I don't have to parallel park. Don't make parallel park. I just want to pull in a lot. I want to pull in on a side street. I don't want to stress about this.
No, I could parallel park, but the whole spot thing just gives me like wild anxiety. So anyway, I live in a city where I don't have to have a car.
I love that for you. I would love universe. I want to live somewhere walkable. I mean, technically, my place is a little walkable. It's too hot to go outside though
Mm.
these days. Do you want to talk about your quantum hypnosis, Christine?
Oh, wait, before we go to Christine, I had one more thing I wanted to mention, and I think Christine will
Okay.
appreciate this because of cats. For anyone watching on video, you'll have seen Christine's cats walking in and out of frame.
Right.
But something that I had asked about in my session was at this time, I was having a pattern of dreams where I would have cats like latch on to me. And in some of them, they would latch on, and it's like in the dream, I couldn't speak, I couldn't scream, I couldn't shout for help, and then I would wake up out of the dream. Or other times, there would be other people, and they weren't helping me take the cat off. And then, so over time, it kept incrementally changing where there'd be more and more people around, and they might help, or the cat would release its claws sooner, so then I might not wake up out of the dream. So I had asked Christian, or through, I forget if it was it must have just been a question for my higher self when we got to that segment of it.
I think so, yeah.
But I wanted to know, like, okay, so what's the significance of these dreams? Because for anyone who listens to our podcast, we talk about cats, not just because Christine has her fur friends that are coming in and out, especially Copper, but I also have a history of, I got something going on with cats in the waking world where they were sent to me as a symbol, a sign to help pay attention to my intuition. And sometimes I will see that, like I'll be walking around in a neighborhood and then there'll just be a cat right there and just be staring at me. No one else. And I'll look at it and I'll say hi, and then it'll walk away after staring at me for like 10 more seconds. So they find me, they crop up. So I knew that as some sort of a link with my intuition. And so I suspected there was something about that, and that's why I was having this dream. But I figured I would ask while we were in session. And ultimately, I asked about that. And I was like, okay, what's the significance of these lashing dreams, blah, blah, blah. And what they were saying is they were trying to get my attention through the dream space. So they couldn't send me a cat. They couldn't send me a cat based on my circumstances in real life as I was walking around. So they sent me a cat in my dream. And so it was to go deeper with my messages with spirit and not be afraid of the information that comes through, because it is impermanent anyway. It's just information. Like I don't have to be afraid of what I will receive. And after that, I stopped having the cat dreams. So they just straight up stopped. So once the message was received, I stopped having those dreams, which I must have had like 4 or 5 of these cat dreams.
What?
And I have not had one since.
I do want to say something about that though. Like even in quantum hypnosis, I mean, it's this all the same, the psychic space. However, which way you engage it, whether it's psychic readings with our lovely ladies today or through quantum hypnosis with me, you will get what you're supposed to get, and your messages will come the way they are meant to come. Your guides or your higher self want to engage with you in a particular way, and it's up to you to understand what that is. Like you'll have like resonances or clues along the way, but all of it is, if I look at it from the wider perspective, is how do I come back to this moment and understand who I am? Who is this person that I came to be? Who did I incarnate in this lifetime? Yeah, I love it all. I love all of this.
Me too. All right, so you guys want to hear about my session, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Before we start, Renee's sessions are already published in Substack. It's a part of the collection. And then around the same time, their podcast interview with me gets released. I'm releasing Christine's episodes. And I thank you, Christine. I let her sit on it for a very long time.
Which,
no
thank
pressure.
you.
As it's because it's like a very special part of you, this experience that you're having, and I don't take that lightly. So whenever I ask someone like, hey, do you want to add this, do you want to be your experience to be a part of this library I'm building, and she finally said yes. So hers will be in 2 parts because for whatever reason, I was intuitively called to keep going, and her recording is almost 3 hours long. So
Yeah.
we'll see how I cut this up and share it with like the whole Substack community. But she's like, hers is a really powerful one if you want to get into like Mother Nature type stuff. But I'll let her share what she's called to share about it, since you guys are going to be able to access it through Substack.
And I know I have to get back to you with my edits because some stuff in my reading is personal. 8th house stellium.
Okay.
But I will get back to you. I haven't forgotten. So my reading was so cool. Like Renee, I blacked out during the induction process, and then I heard Christian's voice, and I was like, "Oh yeah, you're doing something here." So I was like, "Listen to what she's saying." And the first lifetime that we entered, I was a caveman, and I'm dying because all I could talk about was how hairy I was for like 5 minutes. You'll probably hear it. And what's interesting in this life, I don't know if I've discussed it with you guys, but I am Italian, and growing up, I grew up with other Italian women. We have a lot of body hair, and it's something me and my friends talk about constantly. So, I mean, I have beautiful eyebrows, but we have a lot of body hair. Anyway, so I thought it was funny that the first life I get into, I'm a caveman, and the hair on my body is so thick I can't stop talking about it. I was like, oh, all right, well, I guess that's related. But it was so cool because it was a time where humans existed with dinosaurs, and their way of communicating was like sitting into this flow state. Like I felt like I was communicating out of my heart chakra rather than language or my brain or trying to formulate how to say something to craft a reaction. Like it just was, like things just were. And like the animals were our neighbors, the dinosaurs were our neighbors, the trees were our neighbors. I think we talked about this at some part of the recording, but we were living in harmony with nature, like as we once did. And it was fascinating. And it was a feeling that I felt before. I spent the last summer in Italy, my nonna and my family, and it was so different from how I spend my life in New York. In New York, I feel like I have to have control over everything. And when I was in Italy, I like entered this flow that my caveman had. And it was kind of just like I started the day and I saw where the day took me. And I made decisions based on the flow, right? How did it feel to flow this way? How did it feel to flow this way? And that was my next decision. And that's sort of what the caveman did. And I was like, this is so freaking cool. And then after that, I zoomed out and I saw Earth, and I was in space and I was talking to the Earth, like our planet. And it was very emotional, and I giggle about it because I'm like, oh, how silly. I started crying about how much I love the Earth. But at the same time, how beautiful is that, right? And this came up for me before in an Akashic Records reading, that my soul was here during like Lemurian times or Atlantean times. And that's one of the last times it was here. And I made this pact with the earth that I would come back to help take care of it. So I think it's no surprise that my astrological chart is 75% earth.
Yeah.
Like I love nature. I have, my friends kind of make fun of me, like I won't kill a spider, all the things. I do have issue with mosquitoes, so I'm not that into nature. But anyway, I was crying with the earth because I was so sad for the way she had been treated and like how we lost our connection with her and we stopped taking care of her. And what was fascinating was she started to comfort me, and we call Earth Mother Earth, but she truly felt like a mother. She was mothering me in that instance, telling me it was going to be okay. And in that moment, I was just like, oh, this life that we have is finite. Like my existence here is finite, and I'll do as much as I can to help her. But at the end of the day, she's going to go on. She's going to go on, and she knows how to take care of herself. She's mother. I'm the child, and I'm the one here learning how to be in communication with her. So I thought that was fascinating. And then the next life we had is where I met the hippies. The hippie that I was chatting with was Jim Jones. I think it was a past life, but I wasn't in his body. I was like chatting with him, and I was in the body of the caveman. I don't know if that makes sense. So it was a different way to experience it, but Jim Jones was awesome. And I was telling my friend about this last night. I didn't know Jim Jones is the name of a rapper. So that's fascinating. But Jim Jones was a guy, like a white dude with like a mustache, brown hair in like hippie times, the 60s, living in the Midwest. And he had a commune with his friends. And him and his friends just got back to living with nature. And he never married, but he lived in a village, and like other people had children, and the village raised the children. It was like one big family. And it really is something that I would love for us to get back to now. Like I hate, like my best friend's kids, we call them my nieces and nephews, but she lives 2 hours away. Like I wish we were closer. Like I wish I could just stop by and like take the kids from her or like do a craft with them. You know what I mean? So his lifetime really spoke to that. And I know we had a bunch of other stuff going on. Like there was talk about fractals and new souls and such cool stuff, but that's the stuff that's always stayed top of mind. Even though I've listened to it in the last week or so, like that's what stayed top of mind. So I'm curious, Christian, what stuck out for you?
The caveman lifetime was really big for me. And I'm going to say this too, like when I facilitate for people, like whether you are psychic or quantum hypnotist for me or whatever you do, Reiki, what have you, you are also learning something too. I'm very big on stepping away from the hierarchical mindset. Like, we are all powerful in our experiences, and if it weren't for you guys showing up the way you did to, and I was equally just holding space. Like, really all I'm doing is holding space and talking to you guys. You guys brought your bodies and prepared yourselves for the experience, to which I am grateful. And that one, for me, back to my languaging wounds, is that the cavemen just knew. They knew everything that they were meant to do in the moment. They didn't need to talk about it. They just were in harmony. And that was so big for me, because I think there's like a war with words going on right now in the collective. It makes me absolutely crazy. We've all been in our minds for a long time. It sounds like we're going to continue that, according to what Renee says the astrology looks like looking forward. But something came through while you were talking, was that maybe it's not the astrology that to like worry about. Maybe it's us, as a collective, those with earth signs that are bringing back the remembrance of us, remembering to be in harmony with Mother Nature. Like, it's really interesting that, like, this is going on in the stars, but then we have folks like Christine that are like, let's bring it back to nature. We have to, like, that's back to the duality and the polarity. Like, we have the equal parts. How do we be in relationship with each other? And that was like the big thing that stuck out with me. That was like the medicine I received from your session. And towards the end, we just asked a lot of fun questions. I'm very big on asking fun questions. I was, even with like everybody's session, Renee, I like, everybody tends to ask a lot of questions, like, this is what's going on with my life, and it tends to be a lot of serious questions. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna add a fun question, because there's too much seriousness going on. I know it's all like, whatever comes through, I trust that it's something, it's connected. It's connected in some way. And that's back to the, also the duality. Like, why is it, as humans, we like to categorize it and label it, but it's all like intertwined in some way. And it's like a fun surprise when I find out, like, through quantum hypnosis, or even after, outside of the experience, like how that lands in our conscious wakeful moments. So yeah, I I just love all of this. I'm just like oozing with, this is so much fun.
I forget what we asked
I
for my questions. I
Yeah.
know we asked about like the bird person and then the cat, and I know we had a big long list. I'm like, I don't remember off the top of my head. Those are just like the two things that stick out.
Oh,
I will be
thank you
right
for
back. Sorry.
mentioning.
Oh, yeah.
No worries. Thank you for pointing out the bird person, because I remember you saw a bird person. I totally forgot to ask your higher self about bird person. And then I was like, hey, is it cool? I asked Renee, I was like, hey, can we ask about, okay, backstory first. Let's do
That
this
story,
instead.
so people know what the heck we're talking about.
Yeah. Context, please. This is the gift of having an open head and open hodgeness. I just keep talking. But
It started
Renee,
with
but the
yet
night,
another dream I had.
yes.
That's the
And
origin. I
if
had
you
yet
guys,
another dream.
yes, and if you guys don't know, if you're not familiar with Renee's work yet, she does a lot of dream work. And I don't know if you work with clients, regarding dreams, but she
I
does a
don't, but
lot of
Christine will
dream.
be. Yeah, Christine is working on that as an actual offering for clients. But we in season 2 of the podcast are talking about and analyzing dreams every episode.
I love that. So if you're like a person who wants to investigate their dreams, maybe Renee might be a great, clue forward in your path to, like, that dream realm. The dream realm is really powerful. I think I've shared a story. about dreams, but I'm gonna like go back to the bird person because that was really I totally forgot about it until you brought it up. Thank you for bringing it up. The night before our quantum hypnosis session, she had a dream about a bird person, and then she's like, "What is this?" And it's like, "You've never seen a bird person before?" And she was like, "No." And I was like, "Well, one of my first quantum hypnosis sessions, someone dropped in as their parallel self as a bird person." And she was like, "What?" And she even went ahead, like, afterwards, like, even talking in her psychic circles, like, if they've ever seen anything like it. And no. And this is when the quantum gets really weird. And like you get into, like, if you listen to Stormy's quantum hypnosis session, I called it rebirth through space and time, and we get into beings from other dimensions and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. If you are gravitated and that resonates, if you gravitate towards that information or it resonates with you, we don't have to go there. But for Christine, since we recorded these quantum hypnosis sessions so far apart and the bird person came up again, I decided, I was like, hey, I had the idea to ask Renee. I was like, hey, is it okay if we ask Christine's higher self about this bird person that you saw? Because you guys are connected, you guys are co-hosts, like, you guys are in each other's energy, so why not? Why not? Like, why wouldn't she have an answer for that? It's a lot of fun to explore and investigate about other people that you're connected with or your loved ones in this space. And I don't even remember what happened, but we did end up asking Christine, and it's gonna be in the episode, the answers that we came to on that, like what Christine ended up channeling about the bird person. Like, who is this bird person? I don't remember. Do you remember what because Christine came back and told you about it? Oh, hey Christine.
Hi.
Speak of the
I'm sorry.
devil.
My cat has acid reflux, and I did not feed him at
The
his regularly
cat.
scheduled time, so he, did a little vomit. So we cleaned that. Sorry. Anyway, I know this is live. Renee's bird person. So I do remember that part because I had to tell Renee, so it's in here. But basically, what I remember was going back to the like Atlantean, Lemurian, Avalon times. The bird person was a guide, but they were also showing like a time where these, I don't want to say like half breed, but these like half animal, half human beings, hybrid, there we go. Oh man, these hybrid beings existed, and they were treated differently because they weren't, I don't know, human or whatever. And this Birdman, what made him different was that he had wings. So he could fly and he could leave. And what he did, it's actually now giving like very Island of Misfit Toy vibes, but he would take these hybrid beings and bring them up to this like secluded mountaintop that humans couldn't get to. And they lived up there. But he started this society. And it was sort of a message around like, you're here to help those who don't feel like they fit in and create this safe space for those people to be themselves, because there's nothing inherently wrong, right? Like, there was nothing inherently wrong with these beings, just someone decided they weren't right and treated them poorly for it. So for those people who feel like they are misfits, and again, Renee, I don't know who's going to feel called to be working with you, but if they do feel that, like, you are a safe space for them, and that's what Birdman was trying to explain.
Yeah, I was wondering when you were explaining that if it was that I'm a misfit or that I'm doing the same thing that the Birdman is doing and helping other people.
You're doing the same thing.
Gotcha.
And listen, if you're a misfit, I'm a misfit, because we have like way too much nerd stuff in common.
So it resonated with you. Do you notice that in, like, Renee, in your, like, what's going on with you, like that message?
I mean, I can think of multiple experiences where I have I guess for argument's sake, even all the stories I was saying earlier, I was just plucking people out from a certain circumstance. I've done versions of that too, where like I'd be in a room with people and I would see someone by themselves, and so I would go over and talk to them. I'm very aware of like what Christine was saying in her mission statement at the top of this conversation. It's the same for me. I want to support people on that personal development and fulfillment journey. And how we can do that is working together. It's like you don't have to do it by yourself. You can be connected with other people who have been through it. We talked about that in our previous conversation on our podcast around connecting with coaches, whatever modality, who have maybe been through something. So you can go to them to help understand and break down your challenges. So I relate to all of that. So I do think it makes sense because I'm a particular, type of brand. I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but the kinds of people that will click with me, I'll be able to support them and help them because I genuinely want to.
I have a question. I thought it was very interesting the use of the word. I feel like all things are shared with us for a purpose, even like
Mhm.
just a word. And I'm curious about the word misfit. And I was like, what does that mean to
Yeah.
you?
Well, when I hear Misfit, I think of what Christine referenced, the Misfit Toys Christmas movie, that song. I think that there's a reputation around Misfits for being, it's like something about them is viewed as broken or not functioning properly, not like it's maladaptive in some capacity. And I think it's more that there's a negative connotation around it, but I don't even feel like we actively use that as a term nowadays in how we describe people. We might say, oh, they're eccentric or something. Like it's almost taken on a different perspective. And I don't think anybody is in need of being stitched together because we have broken parts. It's we have wounds that need tending to, that need healing, but we all have them. And the depth of them varies and the number of them varies, and your attention to them or how you can ask for help or your willingness to ask for help varies. So how quickly they can get healed varies.
I think
I
misfit,
love
I
that.
mean, it's literally in the word, like they just don't fit whatever the societal norm is, or the,
Yeah.
I don't even want to say agreed upon, but the most popular acceptance of normalcy is. Because even like the islands of misfit toys, like I just think of them as the other, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
they're just different. Like, if even if you think about like biology, when there's a mutation, right? A bird all of a sudden has purple feathers, and like no other bird has ever had purple feathers. And everyone hates the purple feathered bird because it's different. But at the end of the day, that purple feathered bird, it's actually an adaptation because they live in a jungle filled with purple flowers and nobody can see the bird. And so that bird
Mm-hmm.
goes on to propagate it. So I think misfit is relative to the time and situation and group of people that you are with. And it does, yeah, I mean, that's how I would describe it. Yeah. I feel like I have a lot of like words around it because it's such a weird concept, you know? Like I was probably a
Misfits?
misfit at some point. Yeah. And like, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just like other people can't handle what your difference is. So
Mm-hmm.
they make it a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The reason why I asked because of I'm working with a human brain, and I was like, well, what is a misfit? And then my brain would drop in whatever it associates what a misfit is. So I was like, what does that mean to you? Which is, I feel like, is a powerful question that anybody can ask anybody, because language and words mean anything to anybody,
Mm.
depending on the person. So that's why I was like, hey, Christine, what does that word mean to you? When I think of the word misfit, I think of what's his name from Peter Pan? The guy Rufio from
Yes.
Peter Pan. I think of That's who I think of as for misfit.
Mm.
And I was like,
So you're making it more fiery, more of a troublemaker.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where my brain went with it.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm thinking
Rufio
of
is a
like
lot of
the
fun though.
Yeah.
Rufio was a good time. But I'm thinking of like the misfit toy, the water gun that shoots jelly, and like that's a
Yeah.
problem. But like, is that a problem? What if you love jelly? Like that's
Exactly.
so much better than a water gun. And like maybe we don't call it a water gun, maybe we call it a jelly gun. You know, like it's
I
just
want to
I don't
say
know. Like
I love the way you say water, by the way.
Water.
I thought
But
I've gotten a
I've
lot better
never.
with my accent.
No, don't be better. I love it. Just keep it the same way.
You want to hear the Staten Island version?
Oh, do it.
Oh, this is embarrassing. So in like New York, right? I want a glass of water. Staten Island, I want a glass of water. Does that make sense? We don't
I love
pronounce,
it.
yeah.
I
So
love
I
it.
speak many dialects of New York. Okay, sorry. Back to what people really care about.
Well, I have a confession to make. I don't know what the island of misfit toys is.
Oh,
sorry.
it's in Rudolph. It's in like one of the Rudolph or the main Rudolph movie. It's one
I
of
think
them.
it's the main one.
And so what happens is he goes, I don't know why, but Rudolph goes to this island of misfit toys, and there's a cute little twinkly jingle. And
Is this like
they're
the
showing
stop
all
animation
the
figurines
clay.
thing? Oh.
And so it's
Oh.
all of these toys that quote unquote are malfunctioning. So it's a jelly gun rather than a water gun. So there's something that's just askew. That's why I think kind of what Christine and I were saying were pretty complimentary, because I was saying, oh, it's like eccentric, and then misfit is like you're not fitting in. So we were hitting at the same thing. We just described it in a very different way. So what it was talking about is being an other, because one might say that Rudolph is a misfit because his nose doesn't work, but that becomes his strength. So that was the idea that they were getting across, that all of them had these differences that made them not fit in with their fellow toy or their fellow elf or their fellow reindeer, but that they could accept one another regardless.
And if you resonate with being a jelly gun rather than a water gun, there are no rules, honestly.
So I have a big fire truck that's just not going to stop making
That's
an alarm.
okay.
But you're right. There are no rules. Everything is made up. So like I think about it too. Like I'm 37, and people are like, "What's your plan for having kids?" I'm like, you know what? I don't have one. But I'm a 37-year-old woman, and yeah.
You're like, what
What's
plan?
your plan for having kids? Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, I need to find a man first that I would like to have children with, and then go from there. But the norm is like, I should have had kids by now. So for a lot of people, it's like very confusing that I don't have children, and yet I do still want them in the future. Like, how do those two ideas exist together? But they do. I'm just like out here living my life, and like, it's fine. Like, we made up the rules that women have to have kids by my age, and like they don't. And there are so many other things like that in the world. Like, I'm probably gonna have kids at 40, and like that's fine. It's fine. And there's a whole energy of people out there who are gonna say that age is not fine. So it's all like who you surround yourself with, who you want to be. And I think at the end of the day, as long as you're yourself, you're gonna find the people for you. Just like Birdman Renee.
Birdman Renee, I love that.
One
You know, I have
one name.
one name. I love that so much. I do want to say, because I used to feel the pressure of wanting to have another kid, because when I had mine, I was a teen mom. And then when I hit around my early 30s, I was like, I'm ready to procreate again. But it never happened. And now I'm like, I'm 40 now. And I'm like, I think I'm good. I think what I wanted to birth was my business. Instead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Creation takes many
and
forms.
then everybody who connects with me, resonates with me, are all my little children. But hierarchy doesn't exist. I love all of them equally. But There was another thing in there that I wanted to say. Oh, the bird person. So this is really crazy. I don't know if I said this on your podcast, but I really believe that like just information just drops to you, to everybody for purpose or reason, whatever. And my open ajna and my open head like runs with the information and like connects the dots in a real way or like a weird way. There's this, I was reading my gates earlier and there's a gate that's like connects with that, but I saw a post on Instagram, and apparently, Japan is experimenting with animal and human hybrids, like right now, like IRL. This
For
is
what
not science
purpose?
fiction. For the name of science, I guess. I actually don't know what the purpose
Because my
was.
mind
I
goes
don't
to,
remember.
is this for organs or something? Like how people have like, you know, pig liver, like is it for transplants? And if not, then I don't understand the function. If it's not to
I
help
think it.
save people.
I think it probably what it is, but you never know the intention of what people
Yeah.
like, what people do too. So, or what might be discovered in the process. But yeah, when the whole like the bird person story came through and your quantum hypnosis, like shedding light on who this bird person is, I went back to the your pre-verbal lifetime and I was like, they can't even talk, but they have feelings, they have a consciousness. Just because they can't talk, and it reminds me of that other podcast, telepathy tapes. I don't know if you guys, I think we've talked about
Seth.
it. Yeah, and how there's a experience being felt within that other being that we don't realize. Just because we can't communicate doesn't mean that they aren't feeling a certain way of the way you engage with that being or person who can't speak, and etc. So it made me feel sad because bird person made me, yeah, I felt very sad about bird person. It's like I didn't choose to be here and somebody brought me here, but I'm here and I'm hanging out with all my misfit friends that are just like me so we don't feel alone. Actually, this is really synchronicity. I started the first audiobook I started entertaining. I was just on TikTok scrolling around and the first thing ever like was like this carousel on how this person's like, therapy didn't heal me, but reading these books did because stories are
Mm.
healing. I resonated with that. So I was like, what are these stories? And I love Japan, and they're all Japanese authors. So I
Mm.
downloaded the first audiobook, and it's called Sweet Bean Paste. And it's about this man who runs a sweets cafe or establishment. They make like some kind of dessert pancakes, and they put sweet bean paste in it. And one day this old woman comes through, and she, like, her face is uneven, her hands are really curly, and she asks him like, can I have a job here? And he's like he's thinking she's too old, like all the thoughts, too old, disabled, etc. Eventually, he did end up hiring her, and it turns out her backstory is that when like she's older, she's like in her 70s or 80s. Back when she was 14 in Japan, she got leprosy, and then she was sent off to one of those isolation places for people with leprosy.
Mm.
And I'm in the part of the book where he's investigating his feelings about like, I'm like, they're so far into their relationship. She makes incredible sweet bean paste, like, to his surprise, and she helped his business like really boom. And he's like, why do I have all these thoughts about her? I know like we're like friends now. Like, why am I scared? Like, about her and stuff like that. And
Mm.
I'm not done with the book, but it was like a really sweet and powerful story about friendship in our differences. So I do recommend the read. It's really nice. I love the way it was translated. I love the voices. So if anybody is interested in a nice friendship story, uniting us as a collective through diversity. And I'm
And to
just
confirm,
riffing
is
off the
this
title.
nonfiction?
I honestly don't know. I think it is fiction, but it could be totally real story because
Yeah, 'cause you never know.
It did like riff off like historical events that happened. Like they talked about how back in the day, like now leprosy is a very curable disease. It's not very contagious. Not a lot of people have it now, and they're still treating people from those fears that society, has about, or like the stigma around the disease. So anyways, there goes me going deep again into
No, I
very
love
human
it.
topics.
We love that here.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. But I think this is where I want to end the episode.
I love that.
Do you guys have any closing things you want to share with my audience, with the good people out there?
Aside from find us and listen to our podcast, Synergy to Synastry, wherever you listen to apps, just I love you guys. Look up me and Renee and research us. And if you feel called to work with us, please do.
Or if you're not sure if you do, then listening to the podcast is a good way, in addition to this conversation, getting a vibe on our personalities, our backgrounds. We do share some personal experiences and stories, or our experimentation with developing our spiritual skills and life skills, just kind of growing and evolving.
Cooking skills.
We're talking about food. If you love food, then don't worry. We have secretly, it's a food podcast. We talk about it on a semi-regular basis. We can't help it. But yeah, you can go to our websites, go to our socials, follow us, ask us questions. We're happy to chat and connect and be friends. We can make new friends by DMing each other.
I'm open to these new friends. I know I said I was a no new friends person, but I'm open to these new friends.
The friends that resonate with your energy.
Yes.
Are you sending an invitation for those new friends?
Yes, actually, as a projector, I'm putting myself out there and I'm waiting for the invitation. See you there.
Wink, wink.
All right, get me out of here. Your listeners are going to be like, who is this girl?
She's like, did she really do that? I'm posting that. Okay, everybody's gonna see that.
I know. I realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Can't take it back.
Thank you for adding your personality to this.
No problem.